Why, good evening, y'all, and happy Monday. Hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Welcome to another great episode of Mason Dixon Podcast, the best pro Southern news company on the web. So, I want to always give a little disclaimer, y'all, that the views and opinions expressed here on Mason Dixon Podcast and on MAD are our own and just our own views, and they do not represent the views and opinions of any other person, group, or organization. Remember, if y'all are watching us online, stars help us put up statues. So click that stars button down below and click that share button to get our video out far and wide. We are also broadcasting on X. New Jersey Flaggers was nice enough to lend us their page. We also occasionally go live on Save Southern Heritage Florida. So please support Save Southern Heritage Florida. Become a member if possible and support them in their duty to create precedents to help save our memorials and our heritage in Florida. Now, the benefit of doing that in Florida is other states are going to get ideas from what Florida's doing and hopefully follow suit. So we might have a guest on today. We might not. It's just kind of rough after the holidays. I know everybody got into a food coma, myself included. So that is that, y'all. And if y'all are new to the page, please comment down below and say hello. We get viewers from all over. How are you?
Tired. It's been a day.
It really has been. I tell everyone that after Thanksgiving, those few days of just relaxation is enough to just make you feel like you don't want to get back to do anything.
Between that and just the weather kicking my tail, yeah.
Is it also in North Carolina super cold and super hot and then super humid and then dry after?
Yeah. It is supposed to be 16 degrees tomorrow morning.
Oh, yucky.
And we're supposed to get snow too.
Oh, no.
So that'll be fun.
How do people drive down there in the snow?
Terrible.
Same up at Jersey's are just bad drivers in general, but we really can't drive in the snow.
North Carolina's hit and miss. It's worse in the cities.
That's what I figured. Like, is Charlotte around probably a nightmare?
Charlotte's a nightmare every day of the year.
Ooh.
Queen City has too many people, period.
Jeez. I know for a fact Baltimore's pretty darn bad because I drive through there a lot, and then going into the Beltway. I drive through there with the flags in my car, so I always love it when I get the one middle finger salute, or I'll get somebody who's forced to drive next to me, and they're just going,
"What the hell is that?"
Yeah. They look at New Jersey plates, and they look and they go, "Oh." Now, my mentor, Jeff, is from Delaware, and he's gotten the same problem in the Beltway where people will look at him and they'll go, Delaware, and they'll see the battle flag fly, and it drives them crazy. I love it. So we are pretty much just having a mellow episode today, y'all. For any reviewers, I just wanted to mention a little update about Arlington because I know we get messages left and right. Well, just to quickly recap, we had a great result with the election because, if it wasn't Trump, well, okay, that would have been bad with Arlington. Trump had vowed he would put Arlington back. Now, one of the issues with that is that Governor Youngkin, they are trying to give him the memorial and say, oh, it's a done deal, take it, and then give it to Virginia or this and that. And now more than ever, we've got to contact Youngkin's office, and we've got to be really tough on do not allow Virginia to take the monument. The monument is the military's. And if you ever want to run for a higher level of office, because there's been some rumors about Youngkin wanting to either do a bid for president, possibly go and serve a second term in Virginia's governor. If he wants to do that and he gives Arlington away and lets this happen and say, oh, I can't do nothing, it's a done deal, the people of Virginia will remember and they will make sure that he is voted out and never, ever admitted into any higher level of office. It was bad enough when Youngkin praised the removal of General Lee and the rest of our Confederate heroes on Monument Avenue. It was bad enough when he just completely ignored history, when he allowed Dr. McLean to be fired. He has just not stood up for our heritage, and I think it's time we respectfully let him know that, hey, dude, you have a chance to actually prove people wrong. What do you want to do?
It's just outright disgraceful.
It is, and I was chatting with somebody over Thanksgiving, and there was another, this is now a memorial in our state where it was a Rev War monument. So not even anything that would have been, I guess, considered controversial, but now it is controversial. And they moved the Rev War monument in the dead of night onto a museum because they didn't want it out in the open. And that has been happening little and slowly in New York, New Jersey, up north. People are just turning their backs on Rev War heritage. Of course, for Thanksgiving, we had countless people have meltdowns and say, y'all are celebrating a colonist holiday and you colonizers and yada, yada, yada. And my response is this. Okay, well, do you like your iPhone? Do you like your $10 soy latte at Starbucks? Do you like your BMW the driver in it? You're not oppressed. You're not quote colonized. However, if you'd like to live in the Stone Age, get rid of the phone, get rid of the BMW, get rid of the Starbucks, get rid of all, everything that you hold dear, and see if you can last in the woods. I mean, half these people that claim colonization, this and that, would not last a single 2 days, a single day, let alone 2 days camping.
I prefer the word conqueror.
Exactly.
It's fair game.
It is fair game, 100%. And throughout history, whole civilizations have been conquered and have been, war has been waged. Now, it's hilarious because they truly think that all these tribes were, super anti-colonists and had bad relationships. And that was not the truth at all. There were tribes that hated other tribes. There were tribes that sacrificed other tribes. There were tribes that conquered other tribes, but they don't label that as colonization. And there were tribes that had a decently good relationship with the quote colonists. And I know for a fact that 5 of those civilized tribes that were part of the Confederacy had a pretty good darn relationship with the quote colonists.
Those 5 tribes specifically joined the Confederacy because they didn't want to be under the tribal rule that the United States government put them into.
That's right.
They wanted free representation instead of being courted and costled into a reserve. And you see what that got them.
Oh, my buddy Derek. Great to see you, Mr. Derek, from Liverpool, England.
Hey, Liverpool. Cool.
Derek's an amazing patriot, and he's funny as heck, and he's got some darn good memes that he shares. The recent one was inappropriate, but funny as heck.
Those are the best ones.
That's right. Mr. Zach says, so shameful how Youngkin has acted towards our Confederate heritage. 100%. He needs to know how big of an issue this is for a big chunk of his constituency. Absolutely. And, I always love when it comes to, Virginia heritage, because that right there, everything is being attacked in these blue areas, especially in Richmond. The Virginia Council is by far the best organization that I know of, and I really want to encourage people to support them. I did also get to see John Reed again. I have to get the photo that we took at the Christmas party last year. However, I forgot to get a photo with him at the UDC building, but he was presented with an award from the Daughters of the Confederacy. And he was very grateful. And because he's always been out there, he always spoke positive about our Southern heritage groups. And he always has been around for us. And he even said, look, Youngkin, this is wrong if you want to take away tax exempt status. So he's always been very big for our heritage and our history, John Reed. And here's a link to the Virginia Council because they have great events every year. They have members meetings. They have great presentations. They had Z Van Fleet, who was a survivor of Marxism, speak up. She wrote the book Mal's America. Dr. McLean gives presentations as well on the memorials and all that. And I know the recent event coming up might be their Christmas party, I think, which I will be going to if that is the case.
Christmas parties are always good.
Ain't they the best? And that's another thing, too. It's just really sad how, it seems like, people are now attacking Christmas and all this. And it's just Christmas is a nice way of getting together with family. Obviously Christ first and all that. But, going to church, seeing loved ones, having a tree and all that. And I've had, quote, people that were from the Christian groups and they were part of our medical freedom groups go completely ballistic that we were celebrating Christmas. And I'm like, really? Is this another one of them? Like, not everything is pagan. That to me just drives me nuts when I hear that. I'm like, a lot of the Christmas traditions, especially in the South, come from those Victorian era culture. And, like Queen Victoria, she was German and she brought a lot of that heritage when she was in England and when she was queen. So, to have people just go nuts about Christmas, I'm like, do y'all have anything nice to just celebrate? Like, I love it because Christmas, I get a chance to decorate my tree with Confederate battle flags and national flags. Oh,
Cody, do you mind? The puppy has invaded.
Oh, heck yeah, Zach! If you're going down there, that'd be awesome. I don't think I have anything else planned if they're having it, but hopefully I will be down there. It's always a good time. How's everything been in North Carolina with, in terms of, I guess, the election or where things stand with heritage battles?
It's actually been kind of slow. Nothing's really going on. Next thing we're doing for Fame Preservation Group is we're going to have a Christmas candlelight ceremony out in front of Fame. Have all excuse me. We're going to decorate all the headstones with paper bags and candles. Do a little service. That'll probably be the last thing we do for the year.
That's a smart way to end the year for sure. Because what I really like about that is it's one more thing to celebrate. And I know a lot of, around this time, a lot of heritage groups are either having their Christmas party or they're doing something. I know that the Delaware Grays, my brothers and my UDC sisters out in Delaware, and OCR brothers and sisters, we all came together to celebrate Remembrance Day. We talked about our Confederate heritage, and we will be having a Christmas party in 2 weeks from now, I think, in Delaware. And it's always a great time to go out there and, bring a covered dish. We have a great meal. We play Confederate Jeopardy. And usually our team wins, but last year we were very close. I think we were off by like a point. We were so darn close on it.
Mm-hmm.
We get really competitive with the Confederate Jeopardy.
So is New Jersey still trying to split into 2 states?
We are. And I think, here's a funny thing. New Jersey is definitely going to have a huge problem when it comes to the gubernatorial election that's coming up next year. We do not have a good candidate. And actually, I'll find the article. Somebody I said it half jokingly, but I think people are for real. They're like, you know what? Why don't we bring back NJexit? Because NJexit was around in 2020 because of what was going on with the tyranny of Governor Murphy and him just not listening to the people and, being forced to get locked in your home. It was ridiculous. And people getting fired for no reason. We had a gubernatorial election where we had David Winkler, who was anti-heritage, wanted to remove memorials in Gettysburg. He tried to run in Murfreesboro, which is just outside of where the SCV headquarters is, more or less. It's in a very pro-Confederate area. And people there all knew what he did in New Jersey. And let's just say that he never even ran because he knew he was outnumbered. He quickly dropped from that one. He then decided to try to run again in Pennsylvania, and he overwhelmingly lost when it became clear that he does not support the monuments. He called all of us who support, Confederate history or American history. He called us all, quote, white supremacists, which was not even true at all. And that's like borderline defamation. And then he went on to say, you should take the flags down, take this down. He claimed to somehow be related to Martin Luther King, which was nuts. And okay. A whole bunch of nonsense, which if he is actually related to Martin Luther King, well, that explains a lot because Martin Luther King told a lot of lies when he wrote his speech and it was plagiarized. So, right there. He was
also a communist.
He was also a communist. That is correct. And, that's also another issue with New Jersey because we don't really have a GOP. The best part of our GOP never win their elections because they're, quote, too conservative. They're too militant. They don't like how they stand up for stuff. They're too Christian. We've gotten that before. We had one guy, the other guy that was running in, quote, almost run, Jack Ciattarelli. Jack Ciattarelli did not support our heritage. He supported Nikki Haley and had her come out here, took photo ops with her. During a Trump rally in New Jersey, which he thought was too good, he was too good to attend that. he staged it where he took photos of like random people saying, let's smile together. And he's going like this. When there's nobody around, everything is getting roped off to keep him out of their photo shoot. And it really shows that, he didn't care for Trump or any of, quote, the MAGA movement, anybody who's truly conservative. I know he attacked our flags. So he wants to run again. And, we have Bill Spadia, who also has a lot of baggage, and you don't really know who to believe. And you have Edward Durr, who was honestly sort of hateful to our heritage. We had a Twitter war back when it was Twitter, and we got into a huge argument, and I got blocked on his thing because I called him out. I said, how come you're, hiding away from the, quote, Sons of the Confederacy when you're trying to take a photo op, but you're quick to, take photos of the Union Monument and, all these, Yankee photos, Yankee flags, but you just completely denounce the Southerners. That to me was just a total slap in the face. Every
It's
year
ironic.
they have that at Finn's Point, right? And the local Young Republicans group there, they go to Finn's Point, of course, wearing Yankee keppies, and they always give the Yankee story at the prison, but they ignore what the Southerners went through. So that right there was always hypocritical because they always want our vote. And I tell people, hey, if they're not a good candidate, just abstain from a vote. And that's probably what's going to happen in New Jersey. I'm going to call it now and say that because New Jersey is so divided, you're going to have Jack running against probably Mikey Sherrill. She's this crazy left-wing socialist lady who's running as a congresswoman. So she potentially gave the idea of putting her hat in the name to running for office. For governor, and I think she probably has it in because nobody is going to be voting for Jack. And I know you have two people that split the vote again. It's going to be, let's all get behind Jack. I'm not going to. Nope, not for anybody who denounced our heritage. They're not getting my vote.
No. If anybody gives compromise for one thing, they'll do it for all things.
Yes, they will. And that's been a huge problem because oftentimes I've noticed that people are so quick to say, oh, just compromise on this one issue or just do this. And I'm just like, no, because the minute you agree to something, whether it's not bringing out your battle flag or I've gotten this a lot, don't bring the battle flag, but bring the First National or bring the Bonnie Blue. And then eventually it's don't bring anything Confederate. So then they try to force you to hold a federal flag, which I'm just like not going to do that.
Yeah, and now we're to the point where they're digging up graves.
Yeah. They're digging up graves. And actually, here's an article. So there was a town council meeting, and, the town councils in New Jersey are pretty darn bad. And there was the one town in particular. This is what I think is really funny. In Edison, New Jersey, they banned people from flying the federal flag. So normally at a lot of the council meetings, people would bring in stick flags. I'd always bring a Confederate one because that's the flag that represents me. But people would bring in the federal flag and they would get completely, shut down. Now it's that they're not even allowed in there. The guy got escorted out by police for having the federal flag. And it was pretty eye-opening, but it's also a great way to say, hey, I told you so, because a lot of these rhinos and a lot of these people on Fox News, like Mark Levin, who are all having a panic attack over not being able to fly the federal flag, are going off and we got to do this. We got to protest. And my response is simple. Well, what about defending our Confederate flags? Because y'all haven't even done that. There's whole rallies in New Jersey where if you carry anything but a federal flag, they will try to kick you out of it.
Oh, don't you love living in an empire?
Right, a Yankee empire.
God. Where only one nation is recognized.
Yep. Derek says, well, now in England, if you have a Christmas tree on show and depends somebody, now you cannot preach on the street. That's because England, England is basically coming after anybody who's Christian or Catholic or any of that. It's pretty bad what's happening there. It's almost like a different type of colonization is occurring in England. And that's something that the people have got to fight like no tomorrow. And then I really feel bad for England because a lot of these, quote, woke celebrities want to move to England. And the people had better rally up and make it known that they are not welcome there. They can go to Canada instead because I know Canada is more accepting of the socialist nonsense.
The world needs another revolution.
Yeah, something. It's really just, shocking when you're at the point where if you say Merry Christmas in England, you can be threatened with arrest, or just for giving your free speech or having a Christmas tree or even preaching the word of God in the street will land you in the slammer in England. And the ridiculous laws on, quote, hate speech, this is what really drives me nuts, is because, of course, the left likes to play the game of, oh, let's cater to like the 0.0001% of things that don't exist. Oh, but you agree with hate speech. And I'm saying, first of all speech is free speech. So when you start getting selective on, quote, what is hate speech, that right there opens up a can of worms, because we've had people on TikTok get completely censored for having the first national flag, for having the Betsy Ross, or for having any of that. At some point, I should even do an episode on some of the Karens that we got in Jersey, because I've been kicked out of groups left and right where they got completely triggered over the Betsy Ross. And there was one woman saying, well, it's flying in this town called Downbrook, but that's under special circumstances. And it makes me nervous as hell. And it really makes me nervous when I see the Betsy Ross flying anywhere else.
Bless her heart.
Yep.
Jeez. That's when you go find her vehicle and have decals of the Betsy Ross.
With some super glue on them. Here's the
Yep.
article, y'all. I would love doing that with the people, because we're over, it's been a year anniversary since, we had our famous, I call it, or quote, infamous rally that was outside of Governor Murphy's house, where we marched out with our battle flag, several of us, and then it made the news, and some of the rhinos had an absolute hissy fit about the battle flag being flown, and they completely just had a meltdown over it. This is what it says right here. It says, we don't want an electric Honda. No, thank you. And no, thank you to this. It says American flag, Constitution among props banned by New Jersey Town Council. So it went on to just, so now the federal flag and the Constitution are called props that are now banned. So the ban came under the Edison Municipal Town Council ordinance that established proper decorum for members of the Edison Township community who address the council during public hearings. Using props while addressing the council is listed in the ordinance as an impediment to the orderly conduct. So then some resident gave his conduct right there, and he explained, he held up the Constitution, and because he did this, he is, interjected by one of the socialists named Nishith Patel, said, if you use it as a prop, the Constitution will then take this as a warning if you continue. And he interrupts him and saying, I'm sorry, I'm not putting down the U.S. Constitution. Bassoff said, this is my time and you're interrupting me. Patel interrupted with the gavel and then goes on. And they had police officers surround him and escort him out. So this is just an example of all this nonsense that's occurring in that area of New Jersey. That whole area is completely changed for the worst. It's a whole different demographic coming in there. They don't appreciate any of the history in the area, nor do they appreciate anything to do with the Constitution or learning how this country functions. Very similar to what's going on in England.
That's what we call carpetbaggers.
That's right.
It's not just in the South anymore. It's international.
Oh, it's everywhere. And, I've known a few very pro-Confederate people that are from Massachusetts, and that's another state which, if you look at the states or the colonies' constitution, it was very states' righty. And unfortunately, it's kind of gone by the wayside because of, Boston and all these big cities. And in Massachusetts, they are so beyond woke, coming after Rev War history. And it's one of those things where people are, they'll call people that come in from other parts of the world, they'll call them carpetbaggers, carpetbagging communists, especially with them college towns. You see it all over.
Yeah. I have personally had the idea for years now that states should have their own electoral colleges. That way cities don't rule the population.
I agree with that because that's been the case with a lot of these big cities, or you have a few states like Virginia is one of them, Maryland especially, where all it is Baltimore, and that decides everything. Or Richmond decides the whole thing, more or less.
In North Carolina, it's Charlotte, Winston-Salem, and Raleigh,
Those three.
or the Greensboro Triad area, really. But the Triad's 3 different cities in one region. But it's the Triad, Charlotte, and Raleigh-Durham. Those 3 regions dominate politically, and they're all Democratic.
Oh.
But the rest of the state, aside from Asheville and Wilmington, are pretty red. Democrats, they love government service.
Yeah, they do. They love government service and government overreach.
Which is why they want to control everybody else.
That's right. Oh, Derek said it upsets people if you have to move the Christmas tree, and the new law that's being brought out to protect the Muslim. Can't wait to June when I'm out of there because I may not come back to England. Derek, I don't blame you. And it's sad because that's obviously your home and, you have roots in England and all that. And, when that's no longer your home, it's unfortunate. And I like some of the culture of England and how they do certain things. I'm absolutely for, and I love that because I know they have a better medical freedom movement out there. They truly care more about certain things. And I know for the most part, a lot of my friends that are from England, they have a great sense of humor and they are not offended by anything compared to some places here where people just take offense to everything. And I know down south, you do see a lot of those traditional British roots that are still celebrated proudly, especially in Alabama, parts of the deep south. They still have afternoon tea. They do all those great things. Yep. And I'm super proud of the Fame Preservation Group because that's a prime example of when y'all are deep in enemy territory in North Carolina, despite all the odds against y'all are coming out successful and y'all are actually getting it done. That is impressive.
Speaking of which, as simple as it is to pick up trash on a street, we maintain an Adopt a Street program that we voluntarily do with the city of Salisbury here. And we just helped out another Adopt a Street group for the first time, which just so happens to be a liberal uptown business. And they know us. They know us by name and they know what we do. And yet they didn't say anything because we, a Confederate group, are doing civic duties by picking up trash. So they can't say anything.
And it makes you wonder, like, because some of them, how some of them get, they'll purposely dump more trash or make it more like dingy. That's what you always got to worry about with some of them.
But I'm not going to say I'm against the battle flag because I'm definitely not. I fly it every day. But it seems like there's a time and a place for it. If you want to get into certain niches in the community, especially in the more uppity areas, when you're in a Confederate group, sometimes you just need to pick and choose when to do it. But then again, that does sound like compromise. But you get what I mean, Vinny.
Oh, yeah. And I've heard there's been always a debate on that. And I know my mentor, Jeff, will tell you with us, too, we just have it everywhere. We go to Gettysburg and we make no apologies about it in some of the most liberal places. And my buddy Tom, who puts flags in the cemetery, even though if he did a First National, it might stay longer. But I said, no, who cares? Let's keep on doing it.
Yeah, who cares?
That's the attitude I've taken. And, I'll shock y'all with this because it's been the anniversary since we did the flyover with Save Southern Heritage Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I won't name any names of any organization. I won't name names of people who belong to an organization that, quote, should be pro-Confederate. However, we had an organization in Florida that should have been Confederate, and the people that were part of it had an absolute meltdown over us doing a flyover. They had a meltdown over the battle flag. They were quick to condemn it. They were quick to say that doesn't represent us. We're not affiliated with them. Oh, we don't stand by that at all because they had ulterior motives. And it really is eye-opening to know that, when an organization, because I know different organizations have different charges, when they say, hey, we're going to just hide away from the flags and not stand up for it, not educate and do that, that's almost like turning your back on the charge. And, it's so easy for people just to get together, to put on a coat and tie, get cigars, in some cases get very drunk and belligerent drunk, which I've witnessed. That's all easy for them to do. But when it comes to actually getting down to it, saving our heritage, doing a flyover and standing behind it because we're always silenced, I mean, come on. And there's a wonderful woman who is on X. She's a professor, and I don't want to butcher her last name, so I'm going to pull it up and see if I can hopefully spell it out euphonically, because I'm usually good at that. But this professor, she is a PhD, and she speaks out. She's a woman of color, and she speaks out saying, the South has got to stand up. They've got to take their flags back. They can't be afraid to fly them anymore. They've got to stop compromising. Enough is enough already. And if this young lady can speak up against this, where's the rest of the people that need to be speaking up against this? And it's Dr. Nahoya. Her name on X is Wanjiru Nahoya, and that's her Twitter handle, and she is really good. And she completely debunks CRT. She debunks all of that, and it drives the left insane, and it drives people on the right insane.
Critical race theory is just Marxism with fancy words.
Yes, it is.
It's very easy to understand Marxism once you break it down. Because all it is divide and conquer. You pick one subgroup and then pit it against the other and let them fight each other. And then give both groups one reason to fight another group. They continuously do that. They did in Russia with the czars. They did in China with Mao. And now the republics in Taiwan. It is a continuously vicious cycle that keeps repeating itself, which is ironic because it came from Germany.
That's right, with the Marxist ideology. And the one thing I wish people would know, if they studied Karl Marx and his life, they call him one of the most hated people on earth. And people don't know this, but Karl Marx is buried in the UK. He's buried in, I think, England. He is not buried in Germany because they didn't want him there. He fled Germany because his Marxist beliefs were pretty darn bad. So his actual grave site where it is, he died in London, England, and I think he's in the cemetery near there.
Interesting.
Because he is buried at the Highgate Cemetery in London, England, with a memorial. So he actually has a monument. And, this is the person that led to Marxism, that, helped countries fall to communism, become socialist, and all that. And all his damaging ideology was accepted by Lincoln. Lincoln loved it. Lincoln ate it up. Part of the GOP brought it with them in the early years. And that's something that people are completely blind to. Oddly enough, too, the founders of the education psychology were Marxists. So Vygotsky and a lot of those people were all hardcore Marxists. When they came over here, they brought those Marxist beliefs with them. And they put a lot of that nonsense into their cultural psychology, which has nothing to do with culture. And it's more about all these nonsense of microaggressions. And, if you're civilized, something's wrong with you. And, the idea of seeing white supremacy and everything when it doesn't exist.
Of being a victim and not seeing class. Yeah.
That's right.
Make somebody else feel bad for themselves and want to go, quote unquote, eat the rich.
That's right.
Because the common man can't earn his own wealth. Has to share it with everybody else. That's so stupid.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%. And, it's crazy because half these people that preach Marxism, they're the most entitled college students you'll ever meet. They don't have a concept of money. I've had people that were in college that just get offended by everything, and they're really out of control. You can't even have a conversation because they're screaming and cussing. And I'm just like, when you act like that, I got nothing to say to y'all because that's a tantrum.
That's what pepper spray is for.
They get rabid. And, they had Candace Owens in New Jersey at one of the colleges, Rutgers, I think it was, 2 years ago about. And they were so disruptive and so out of control. And security didn't do nothing, but they were out there flying communist flags. It's no secret. So when people say there's no such thing as communism or Marxism in school, the club was the Democrat Socialists of America, and he even was flying the sickle flag. So, clearly that was there, but everybody turned a blind eye to it.
Oh yeah, they love free speech when it's for them.
when it's all for them. And all these, there was even a reporter, get this, this is what really blows my mind. We have some of the worst reporters in New Jersey. We had Fred Snowflake, who I call him Fred Snowflake, is probably a better name for him. He did the article when my buddy was dressed as a colonial soldier. I had a Confederate flag hoodie on, and he wrote this ridiculous article, and it was called Stars and Bars Shirt on Display, which I'll pull up.
There's nothing that makes me cringe more than somebody calling a battle flag stars and bars.
Oh, I know.
Hate it.
So we were at the Stop the Steal rally, and that's where Jack he spoke at, and then all of a sudden he denied that he was there, and the whole thing was such a ridiculous mess. Stars and Bar shirt on display. It was something like that. And first of all, it was a hoodie, so not a shirt. He also didn't answer his emails because this is a reporter that doesn't know his head from his rear end. And the funniest part about that is some of the Republicans, because we have really bad ones in New Jersey, they were all over him saying, oh, no, we didn't know who that person was, this and that. One guy outright lied on record. And it says Stars and Bar shirt on display at Stop the Steal rally. So that was my buddy Ed. That was me right there. Had my battle flag. And it goes on there. And of course, they did photos when people were there super early. And it was quite interesting. And this
That's
guy
what they always do.
Oh, yeah. He wrote a ridiculous, article when he did this. And I'm like, so when I educated him, I go, okay. So I also was photographed. I carried the First National when I was in this near the State House in New Jersey. And when I carried the First National, it made the cover, but no one knew what it was. And I commented, tagged him in it. I said, well, how is it you don't even know what Stars and Bars is? Because if you call that Stars and Bars, you need a history lesson.
Mm.
I mean, they're just so
The
darn
willfully ignorant are damned.
Yes, they are.
Those who refuse to learn.
So we do have some flagging events coming up. We are going to be doing a delayed Christmas party, and we are going to be doing a John Wilkes Booth dinner, which has been in the works. And some of that was going to go to Arlington, and that's what we're doing in our flaggers group. Because when you're out in enemy territory, I tell people in every southern state now more than ever, we got to act like we're in a renaissance. We've got to be we got to be tough. We got to be unapologetic. I had a gentleman, again, won't give out names, but he was from a deeply southern state and I think even a city in Alabama, and he completely just went off on somebody who had a beautiful made shirt that had it was AI generated. It had some cotton. It had Alabama. It had the state flag on it, and it had the battle flag. And he goes, well, I'm part of groups that honor our Southern veterans, but we shouldn't be flying that flag because it offends people and yada, yada, yada. And I write, shame on you. I said, your ancestors will be appalled of you if they heard you say that.
We, as Confederates, need to shun the cowards within.
That's right.
I have said that many times and have made many enemies, but I do not care. To be a strong people, we cannot have weak links. They can either pick themselves up or they can fall behind.
Absolutely.
I'm sick of cowards.
I am too, because, especially, and you'll see people come out there and they'll go, oh, anytime they go, oh, well, I have Southern roots and I support this, but, and I always say my catch line, but and opposite.
Yep.
Always they're going to say, I support this, but blah, 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 and blah, 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 and it's all opposite. It is the exact, so really they do mean what they're saying. They're just choosing not to say what they're saying. Derek said, I will be going to see General Robert Edward Lee on my tour, and I'll be putting a flag on the grave. Hell yeah. Derek, get a bag and sneak it in there. So if you're going into Lee Chapel, get a bag somehow, sneak the little flag in there, sneak it in there or leave it in there. I always recommend that because that is where we've got to do civil disobedience. So if you're going to Lexington, that's going to be difficult. But when you're in there, sneak the flag in there. Get a bag and hold it in there. Get a stick flag to leave in there. The Confederate shop, always support them. They have great items. They have great stick flags. We got some good ones in there. And my mentor also taught me a really good technique. If y'all want to make a really good flag that you use in a cemetery get you a cobbler's hammer. They work like a charm because you can tap the flag right into the ground and it ain't coming back up unless they really pull. We did that
I'll have to
all
get one of those. The ground's been real hard down here lately.
Yeah, when it gets cold out there. So a cobbler's hammer will come in handy because Gettysburg was pretty darn chilly. So something as little as that cobbler's hammer made a big difference in the long run.
Yeah, sometimes when the city goes out and mows, they'll clip one of the flags by accident.
It happens, yeah, in the maintenance.
They try to do well, so I cut them some slack. We haven't had any luck on that historical marker either. Between asking the city of Salisbury, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and even consulting with the federal government, since it's in a registered historic district.
Oh,
Nobody's
yeah.
answering.
Ooh.
So I don't really know if there's an option. As much as I'd like to do it, because it's representing a Confederate field hospital, which produced a mass grave of 175 Confederates from 10 different states, where fame now stands. But if we don't get the contact for signage, per se, then I don't know if it's going to happen.
Oh, no.
I want it to happen, but because of the location of the cemetery, there's not many properties that we could work with because it's surrounded by businesses.
So that's going to be definitely an impediment for sure.
Yeah. But we will keep pushing.
Yeah, y'all got to push on that because that's just so sad. And it's one of those things that originally it was going to happen, and then the last minute, yeah, we don't want it.
Yep. That was miscommunication. The cemetery division for the city disclosed the proposal, which was made out to be approval. Basically, the cemetery director said, hey, you could put this here if you go to this company and raise this money with a drafted plan. And we did that. We took it completely seriously. And then when we presented it to the city, she was like, oh, yeah, we actually got the money, lady. Come on. What you waiting on? And the next thing we knew, the city manager shut the whole thing down because they didn't even know about it. So we just got smoke blew up our, you know what, the whole time. It's just been an uphill battle ever since. Government.
That's just so ridiculous.
It's stupid. It shouldn't be that hard.
No, it shouldn't.
And since then, because that was the actual physical stone marker that was going to be inside the cemetery, we've diverted to getting a roadside marker outside of the cemetery, either on the same street or 1 block away on US Highway 29. Either one, really, because it's in the same vicinity. But there again, nobody's answering. And I personally don't know if it's just because it's the end of the year, nobody wants to do anything, or what. But we've been trying to do this for months.
Yeah, and that's I've always noticed that too. Like they have almost like a down period where you'll send them emails left and right, and they will not get back to you at all. So I don't know if it's something like that, but it seems like they're just trying to avoid even touching the issue, which happens a lot.
Yeah, it seems that way.
No good.
But we'll keep pushing. If need be, we'll just redivert the the resources we do have to another project if we can't achieve this one.
I don't blame y'all yet.
Mm.
Well, y'all are doing great things out there, and I'm super proud of y'all. And, how can somebody get in touch with the Fame Preservation Group if they want to attend events or meetings?
We have a website. It's the same name, famepreservationgroup.org.
I'll post it.
Or
right
we can. Sorry, what'd you say, Vinny?
I said I'm going to post that right in the comments for y'all.
Oh, okay. And our email is famepreservationgroup@gmail.com.
And it's right there, y'all. Great website, too.
Thank you.
It's got some nice events come up and all that. Excellent.
We try to maintain it. Sometimes we get busy.
Oh, yes. Y'all do a lot in the summer and spring, which is typical, right? There's more to do. The ground is softer. There's not as, there's a lot more to do in the spring and summer when everything's kind of hectic.
Yeah. Next first of the year, we're probably going to be at Lee Jackson Day again.
I will be there as well.
Sweet.
Derek says, oh, excellent. And Derek says, I will see if you're free to meet up, Vinny. Derek, if you are, hopefully I will be. If you are around and I'm somehow free, I would definitely love to hang out in Lexington. There's a lot of great stuff to see there. And there is the Lee Jackson Park, which you will absolutely love because that park is a pro-Confederate park with a massive Confederate battle flag that you can see on the highway. There's multiple mega flags all throughout Virginia, thanks to the Virginia Flaggers.
Say, Vinny, you remember those little 6-inch Fame figurines that Monuments Cross Dixie got made? We obtained them years back, and now since we still have some, we're selling them for Christmas for $20.
That's a real good price.
I think the original price was $40 before we got them. Yeah, so we're selling them for $20. But anyone who wants them, just reach to us. We'll ship them out.
That's a good deal.
Oh,
well, we're reaching that hour mark, and what I always like to do is always wrap up with talking about one of our patriots. And I don't think you've ever gotten a chance to give your Confederate patriot's name and who he was and all that. So if you'd like to honor your ancestor, please do so. We'd love to hear.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm still memorizing them all. I don't remember his name, which is embarrassing, really. But I do know his rank and his backstory. He was a captain of a cavalry unit for the 8th North Carolina Infantry Unit Battalion and served all the way to Gettysburg until he surrendered with his company at Appomattox Courthouse. And then, if my memory serves me right, I do believe he came back to Cabarrus County, North Carolina, to become a county commissioner. And lived on after the war for some years. I also have another Confederate ancestor who was a major. He's buried in Thomasville, North Carolina.
That's right.
There's many. I think I have at least 21 Confederate ancestors. Cameron, he does all the genealogy.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know where he's at. He could have hopped on you.
No, he vanished.
He's been kind of quiet the past week.
I got a prank phone call him.
He might be in the mountains still.
What's he doing up in the mountains?
Sleeping in trees while he's supposed to be shooting deer.
Sleeping in trees. Building a snowman. Maybe he's ice skating.
Possibly.
He's going to win the next Winter Olympics for figure skating. He's going to be ice skating to the songs Dixie, Battle Cry of Freedom, Southern Soldier.
He's got to have strong ankles.
Oh, man.
I can't picture Cameron in a tutu.
Oh, my gosh. Mr. Derek, you just got another customer for Fame Preservation. He would like to get one of the Fame memorials, the small
You
one.
got it. Just email us your mailing information, and on our website there's a donate button. The payment can be made there.
That website right there, Derek.
We're selling the little Fame figurines for $20, and they'll come in a white box, but the package box for the monument figurine will be inside that white box. And they're little 3D printed models, but they're pretty durable. And I think, yeah, the package box has each inscription of the pedestal on each side of the box, so it gives a good homage to the actual monument itself.
It does. It's pretty realistic, which is really so impressive because that's such an art to do something like that and to, make something that is real and do something miniature, which is so difficult because sometimes the writing gets lost in translation. Details might be changed. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. I was impressed with it.
I was very impressed to see that. Breaks my heart all the time because, it just shows how the southern states have a lot of connections because Maryland had the identical monument, and that memorial that Maryland had is completely wrecked. They had the memorials that Maryland had. Maryland removed all their memorials in Baltimore, and all those memorials they put in a storage, a wastewater facility saying that, they'll be safe there. Well, apparently for over a year, we had no idea it was vandalized by someone took a saw to it. Somebody shot them, and they have like holes now all over in the metal. It's all badly damaged, covered in paint. And that was only found out about a year after it happened. So we're never going to know who did it. They know who did it, but probably never going to do nothing about it because that's Baltimore.
Of course. One of the worst cities in the United States.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody ever pays attention to Baltimore, just like Detroit.
Oh no, yeah, Detroit is a disaster. A lot of cities like that in Jersey too that were once good and they're no longer good, and it's just dangerous.
We have patches of bad areas in our city. There's one town down here in Rowan County that just nobody talks about. We
That's how
actually
bad.
avoid it. I'm not going
Memphis
to
is
name
like
it because I don't want to shun those people, but it's had a bad history. A lot of gang violence that resulted in buildings being arsoned, and it's just a shell of what it used to be.
That's Memphis to a T because when it went out to Memphis, I remember in our hotel room, I turned on the TV and it had this woman, older woman, and she was real Southern, and she goes, "I'm moving with my sister to Georgia." These gang criminals from the ghetto of Memphis came out to the suburbs, took over her house. They said, "We're taking your house over." They opened the door. They basically took her, put her up out on the step, and they shut the door and locked her out. And she couldn't get back into her home, and they trashed it up. And it took police a day and a half to get control of everything. She packed up her entire home and went right to Georgia.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know much about Georgia's geography politically, but if I could assume, the only two bad spots in Georgia would be Atlanta and Savannah. Other than that, I'm clueless. But those are two blue cities that I'm familiar with.
Oh, absolutely.
Stone Mountain was fun, especially when there were counter protesters.
Just smile and wave at them. I love doing that.
Yeah, compared to what? Nearly 200 people on our side, they had 20.
If that, yeah, it was they were very scant. And then I remember this year, I don't think they really had any.
I was talking about this year.
Oh yeah, because I remember the year before it was a few, but even then it was just a small, loud group. And then I think this year they were pushed further away because they were so disruptive the one year, and they knew they were outnumbered. But they're
Yeah,
cowards.
Georgia
They
State Police was right in front of them.
Yeah. Always great to have you on, Mr. Derek. God bless you as well, and God bless England, and hopefully y'all can fight off what's going on there.
I got a feeling England is going to see a new uprising.
I agree, and I hope so. Just like France did. France has had part of that, and a lot of Europe is saying no, enough is enough already, because this whole idea of globalization has led to the loss of culture like we've never seen it before.
Yep, it's happening real big in Germany.
100%. And nobody addresses what's going on in Germany. The true German culture has been completely just thrown to the side, attacked left and right, and then the minute you try to defend that, you get called all kinds of names.
Well, I think I'm going to hop off here, Vinny.
I'm going to be hopping off too, but thank you for coming on, Greg, and representing the Fame Preservation Group. Always a pleasure to have you all on here, and thanks for all the work that you all do out there. Truly appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, y'all. Y'all stay Southern, and Deo Vindice.
Have a Dixie day.
That's right.